What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to our first movie review, and today we have just finished watching Tenet. We're going to be going over the movie, sharing our thoughts and opinions, and whether or not you should spend your money and time on Christopher Nolan's latest film. Warning to everyone listening, there's going to be spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, then pause the video, go watch it, and come back. But if spoilers don't bother you, stick around. We have a lot to talk about. Before we get started, please hit the like and subscribe button. Show us some love. If you would like to get your hands on the movie while supporting our channel, there will be affiliate links in the description. And with all that being said, let's jump into it.
Is that where I jump in?
That's where you jump in.
Okay. Let's give a little plot synopsis on this here movie. In a twilight world of international espionage, an unnamed CIA operative known as the protagonist is recruited by a mysterious organization called Tenet to participate in a global assignment that unfolds beyond real time. The mission: prevent World War III, basically. And the protagonist will soon master the art of time inversion as a way of countering the threat that is to come.
All right,
Sound
simple
good?
enough, right? Now, I didn't read the description at all or watch the trailer, nothing. I just jumped into this movie blind, and I don't know how I feel.
You don't know how you feel?
I don't know how I feel about it. I have mixed feelings about it.
Okay.
And, you know, one thing, so this movie is PG-13, which I think was a weird direction for it to be.
Well, the last rated R movie that Christopher Nolen did, I believe, was Insomnia. Since then, everything else has been PG-13.
Okay, so it's kind of a Christopher Nolan thing then.
Yeah, I think so. It might be a studio thing, but
Yeah.
he makes sure. It seems like he's in that PG-13 range with Warner Bros. Because I think Insomnia wasn't with Warner Brothers, but every movie he's done with WB has been PG-13.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I just think it's more of an adult kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm like little rated R. Yeah, there's action, there's a couple things going on, but I think I'm not saying it should be a gore fest or anything, but it's just I think
Some
a rated
parts
R.
were, I mean, it wasn't very like gory, but there's definitely some graphic shots.
But it's
in
like
it.
I don't know, when you see people getting shot and there's like no blood, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, they had
In a
like
movie
little
sense.
like blood splat, like little.
Yeah,
There's
and
like
cut
usually
away.
like a little dot or something, a little blood
Yeah.
spot.
And it has nothing to do with the budget because this man got 205 million estimated for the production cost of this entire
He's
movie.
a
you
big
know?
time director making big time movies.
I know, and it's the most he's had so far. So it just keeps going up and up from Interstellar, Inception, and The Dark Knight. So this is the most he's had.
I mean, that's a little surprising to me, at least compared to like Interstellar. Like that seemed like that budget on that movie was huge, but I guess this did have a lot of traveling. They touched a lot, like they're in a lot of different countries and big giant set pieces and stuff like that. Where Interstellar is probably just a lot more warehouse green screen. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, a lot more CGI in that
Yeah.
for sure. But I want to say that the picture looked great. So the HDR, everything that came across, just beautiful on the TV.
You liked it?
I really like that. So I'm
I'm
like, all
surprised.
right.
I'm a little surprised to hear that because you watched it via Vudu, which you usually don't do.
Yeah,
So-
usually I want the 4K disc, but this looked good. It really did. The cinematography, I don't know about that though. Like there was no real shots that I was like, oh my God, this is cool.
Yeah, the way it was shot was pretty typical Christopher Nolan. Like, yeah, usually I feel like there are a few like grand shots in his movies, and I can't really think of any that was in this one.
Yeah, overall, it looked great. It was nice, but
Yeah,
there's
yeah, he makes
nothing
beautiful
really that
movies.
popped out. But the story, let's talk about the story.
Yes, let's get there.
I'm not a fan.
No,
Not
Why?
a fan.
Why?
Now, I've only watched it once, and this is a type of movie that you have to watch multiple times.
Yes.
So this is a movie, as you're watching it, things will happen, and you'll be like, they'll be going up, they're on the boat going to the other, like the yacht. and then
Yes.
you see someone jump off the boat, and as you're watching, like, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
And or you see they're driving, and it's like, why is there a bullet hole there already?
Mm-hmm.
And these are the things that, it makes sense as you watch the movie. And at the end, you're like, oh, there's going to be hidden stuff that you didn't see.
I
So you need
mean,
to watch it again.
yeah, that's kind of like a staple though. There's a decent amount of that in Interstellar. Like
Yeah.
stuff that happened early on in the movie, find out later on, like they're interacting with each other and stuff. And
Yeah. But those movies, I'm just not a fan of. I'm the type that's like, I want to watch it once, and that's it.
so you don't like to think while watching a movie.
No. Straight up, no.
Well, okay, well, while I was watching it, my one of my thoughts pretty early on was, did he feel the need to throw as much dialogue as possible in this movie because he had very little in Dunkirk? Like,
I
this
don't,
movie seemed like the complete opposite when it came to that, because the first there's just so much so fast. It was hard
you,
to keep up.
they started to lose me after that beginning scene, which was great. It's action packed a little bit. He's running around, all this is going on. There's a couple weird things popping up. It's like, well, like the reverse bullet thing that happened, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, what's really going on? And then after that, it just, like you said, it was dialogue, and I feel like I blacked out like half the time, like towards the end. I'm like, oh great, they're talking again.
Well, most of the time I was able to keep up, but there definitely were times where I was just kind of drifting a little bit as far as listening to them. And one common complaint I've heard about this movie is that it's hard to hear the dialogue and
Well, that's because
everything.
that score is just booming on
Did
a
you
lot.
have that issue though? Because
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I had that issue.
No, I had that issue 100% in certain scenes. Now, the score, I think, is great. I really like, what's it, Ludwig Garrison, the guy that does the music for Mandalorian also. He composes some good music, but they had that blaring. And, I had my bass turned up and everything. It's a very bassy kind of score going on, too, which I
Mm-hmm.
loved. But as the bass is rattling, it's getting me hyped. I'm like, oh, man, what's going on? Nothing happens. More talking. And
Yeah,
so
he definitely had some. There are definitely some like intense music during just conversational scenes. I actually thought about that too at one point. Like he's having a conversation with he's
with Twilight, or who are we talking about? Not that
sorry,
guy?
I can't remember. I should know her name. She was like when the two of them go to talk to the guy at the beginning, like when they propel up the building and it turns out to be the woman that's in charge.
Oh yeah, she was kind of hard to hear.
Yeah, Priya.
Yeah.
When they there's a scene when he's talking to her on like a train, or I forget what it was exactly, but they're sitting down moving and he's talking to her, and the just the music behind them is just like whoa whoa whoa, just
Yeah,
super deep. And
whoever mixed the sound for this is terrible.
well, if you talk to Christopher Nolan, people who complain about the sound don't know what
Yeah.
they're talking about.
No, this guy, and it's not. I wasn't listening to it on laptop speakers or anything. I would have had to turn up my center channel and turn everything down. My setup works fine for every other movie except this one.
To be
And, some
fair,
other.
like in my situation, I don't have my sub turned up very loud, so it might not be getting as drowned out as much as maybe you.
Yeah, because you live in an apartment, right?
I live in it's a like a
Condo?
condo townhouse
Gotcha.
situation, but
Yeah, so you'd be
I got
rattling your
neighbors on
neighbors.
each side of me,
Yeah.
not above me, but
No, I was rattling the windows in my house. So when you have that going on, that droning bass, and someone's trying to talk, it's kind of like, why is this here? There's no action. Why is that going on? So, it was a simple fix. They could have just turned that down in the mix. So whoever his test audience was, either he didn't listen to him or they weren't paying attention because the mixing is bad.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of a common complaint with his movies, though.
Yeah.
Just saying, like, people, that's kind of like one of the main complaints that he gets with his movies is the mixing.
Yeah.
He just
But-
likes those booms.
Yeah. And is he purposely trying to confuse us in this movie? Because when I watched it and they were talking about the bullets, I thought this was going to be like that one movie where, they shoot bullets and curve it. Remember that
Yeah,
old
yeah,
movie?
yeah.
So I'm like,
Well,
okay, now we
Wanted,
have that
the
sounds
one
right.
with Angelina Jolie
Yeah.
and James McAvoy.
Yep, that one.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, so they made a new weapon and it's going to be reverse bullets. And I'm like, how the hell does that work? And then she's explaining it and she's so focused on the bullets, which
Yeah.
it's to throw you off. And it's like, that's unnecessary.
Yeah,
And
I was a little confused at first exactly how it was working because she was like, "Oh, it's like objects. Like the objects are like made to
yeah,
be able to do that." But then all of a sudden like they're walking through portals and
yeah,
like
yeah,
machines, like giant
yeah,
machine portals where they're like I was like, "Oh, well that's completely opposite of what or not
yeah.
opposite but just completely
They,
different then."
they were very vague. And even now, I don't truly understand how this stops, prevents, or does something to World War III. Like, I don't know how that pertains because you can, go back in time.
Kind of thinking about it now, I think it was just more that she didn't know as much as she thought she did, and that's what she was told.
Yeah, which is
Well,
fine, but it's kind of a cheap bullshit move, though.
because yeah, she says to prevent World War III, but then he later learns it's like no, it's bigger than that,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that how it went down?
Yeah, because they in the end they were trying to say like everything's gonna end or something like that, and
Basically, like the worlds will like cancel, like the
it's gonna go
existence
backwards.
will like
And,
cancel each
yeah,
other out or something.
but I think it was boring in the sense that there was no dread. Yeah, the whole consequence was everything's gonna cease to be. Basically, everyone's gonna die. But then I'm like, I don't care. Like when you watch a movie like
I don't care if everybody
yeah,
dies.
but when you watch a movie like an old movie like Armageddon, it's like, oh, there's an asteroid coming, and you're invested. You're like, no, don't
Hmm.
let it hit. It didn't have that effect for me. It was just like, okay,
I think that
that's
I think
cool.
that was the point of the wife and the kid. That's what they're trying to get with
Wh-
that relationship.
Yeah,
But
but nobody cared about that. Did you care about the wife and the kid? I felt that whole interaction was forced,
I
and they could
think
have cut her out.
yeah, I think that it could have been more effective if we actually met the kid
That's
a
true. They
little
did
bit
hint on that.
and there was like some sort of like at least dialogue with the kid and stuff. Like there's
Wait,
like
hold on. You want more dialogue in this movie?
well, no, I just mean if they gave us a reason to care about
Yeah.
the kid at all, you know.
Well, they didn't give us a reason to care about anyone. Even the protagonist. He doesn't have a name. He's just the
I
protagonist.
actually like that. After the movie ended and I saw his that he was credited as the protagonist, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that.
Which is fine, but there's no bond. Like he didn't. To me, he didn't have a personality. And I'm like, I'll let it slide because he's like an agent, so
Yeah.
it's okay. But I didn't get a personality from anyone. And the acting was fine. He did perfectly fine acting it. And the supporting cast too did a good job. I like seeing, is it Robert Pattinson? Pattinson?
Pattinson,
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson, yeah,
Because I think he's a really good actor.
Pattinson
Yeah.
with an N. Yes, correct.
Okay. I think he's a great actor, and kind of it sucks that everyone calls him Twilight.
I had
But
that conversation because I watched this with my wife, and I had that conversation afterwards too. How the internets are like, oh, I can't believe Twilight, sparkly vampire boy is gonna be the next
yeah,
Batman, and then the other people are like, but Tenet, and
yeah, he's a good actor. It's
yeah,
just he's going to be associated with Twilight forever.
yeah. Well, I mean, once Batman comes out, that could overshadow it.
No, I don't think so.
You don't
I
think
don't think
Batman
so.
will overshadow? I mean,
It's like
basically Ben Affleck is Batfleck now. That's all
right.
anybody ever refers to him as. They don't refer to him as Goodwill Hunting guy anymore.
I guess that's true. But I mean, but Good Will Hunting, while it was a big movie, it wasn't like a big thing. Like the Harry Potter guy is always going to be Harry Potter, like no matter what. Things
Yeah.
like that, it's just going to happen.
So
Um,
so you weren't really feeling John David Washington's performance. You thought he was fine, but he
he
didn't
was
have any kind of
fine.
personality or anything.
He didn't have any personality, but I don't know if that was the direction he was given. If it was, it's fine, because I assume to be a hardened agent like that, you probably wouldn't have a lot of emotional range and everything.
Mhm.
He'd be very serious, and he was very serious the entire time.
Yeah. I saw this little fact saying that when he got the role, he read the script locked in Christopher Nolan's office at the WB Studios.
Yeah.
It took him 5 hours to read it because he kept flipping back and forth and just saying how amazing the script was, I guess.
You're like 5 hours. I'm like, oh man, I didn't want to sit through the 2.5 hours that this movie was. I got bored halfway through when I thought the climax was coming. When that whole fire truck scene was going on, I was
You
like, all
thought
right,
that was the climax?
I thought it was just gonna be a bad movie, and the movie was just gonna end because I was sitting there for so long, because that's around the hour and a half mark.
Yeah.
Normal movies just end around there, and I was like, it's gonna end like
Not
this.
Christopher
It's gonna be
Nolan
bad.
movies. I don't
Yeah,
know what his average like. Yeah.
but again, I went in not knowing about the movie. I didn't know it was a Christopher Nolan movie when I
Oh,
clicked
you
play.
didn't? Oh,
No,
okay.
I knew nothing. So I planned out an hour and a half, and hour and a half in, I'm like, what's going on? This is dragging, and I just didn't care at that point. Like mentally, I didn't care. I was taking like mental notes as things were going on,
Man.
and I was like, all right, I'm gonna talk about this. This is good, this is bad, and then halfway through, I'm like, I'm done. My brain checked out, and I just stared at the screen.
Wow.
And was like, I just can't wait for this movie to be over.
You didn't even give it a fair chance.
I did. I did. I gave it a fair chance for a normal movie because when I watched
Dude,
his other movie, Interstellar, was long, but
Interstellar's
I never,
2 hours and 50 minutes.
yeah, but I never got. Interstellar seemed to get better as it went on. It was kind of boring in the beginning, but then as it went on, I didn't feel like I was sitting in my chair for almost 3 hours. This
Yeah.
movie, I was like shifting around in my chair. I was like, man, maybe I should get up. I was like, maybe I should check my phone. Like all these things were going on in my head because it overall, it was boring.
Okay.
I think the entire movie was boring, and I was waiting for it to get better, and it never did.
So you thought it was a boring movie.
Yep.
Didn't like the story.
The idea of it,
Sound was good.
yeah, sound was good. The score was good. The mixing was crap.
Acting was fine.
Acting was fine, but it's one of those things where it's trying to be such a smart movie, and maybe I'm just too dumb, and I just don't get it.
That's kind of what he does, you know?
Yeah. But it's not like, because there's going to be a tons of people out there who are probably watching this waiting for us to reveal like the explanation of what happened and everything. And I'm like, you're not going to get that from me because I'm the type that watches a movie once, and if it doesn't grab me, that's it.
What do you mean the explanation of what happened? Like,
Well, the stuff that they missed. Because right now I can't tell you all the little details that went on in the movie unless I watch it a bunch of times. So it's not that the movie is too smart for someone like me. It's one of those that you have to really watch it a bunch of times to get it. I'm not going to invest another 2.5 hours
yeah.
just to piece this story together, which I mean, it's not like an amazing story. We're just talking about
It's
basically-
creative, though. I give him shots. I give it points for being creative.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Christopher Nolan movies just because he goes out on a limb with them. He tries to make them creative and makes you guess.
Yeah.
It's just not the like typical like superhero typical.
I mean,
A lot of the same type of movies that we see these days, you know.
I like that he's experimenting. I have no problem with that. But if I have to watch a movie more than once to really get what's going on, that's an issue.
Well, maybe if you didn't check out halfway through and just stared at the screen.
Well, that's what happens when you have a lot of dialogue and boring scenes, and also dialogue
Man.
that I can't hear.
See, I didn't have any issues not hearing the dialogue. Maybe you need to turn down the bass just a little bit.
Nah, you can never turn that on the bass. My windows aren't shattering, then it's not worth it.
Well, what did you think of the effects, like the stunts and
Are you
the
talking
big
about, like,
the set pieces, like the chase scene on the freeway or in the airplane crashing into the airport and stuff like that?
Okay, so I may have missed this because I checked out. Did they rig explosives to that plane?
No, like
Then
in
why
the
is it
movie did the
exploding?
characters?
Yeah, the characters. Then why is it exploding like they did?
Hollywood.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I just have a problem when they do that, like cars exploding for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, the cars didn't. I didn't remember any cars
No,
exploding. The
cars didn't
airplane definitely
explode.
did, but
Yeah. Um, I think so. But before we talk about the actual, I want to talk about the climax when they have the two teams that are one's going in regular time and others going
yeah,
in reverse.
yeah.
But before that, this movie, why I really didn't like it is they were trying to have a clever play on time travel
Hmm.
by trying to be like, no, they're going to be inverted. But in reality, it's just time travel,
I
like in a
mean, it's
way.
just. I mean, time travel in general is all theoretical, so you could play around with it, have your own twist on it, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
the twist was the whole inversion thing and everything. I get
Yeah.
that, but you're not going to wow me by making, a time travel movie just by
No,
being like, oh, everything's inverted. When you shoot someone, the bullet goes backwards.
it like that
Come on,
didn't like
get
wow
there.
me, but I definitely thought it was. I've never seen that before in a movie.
Yeah,
You
I haven't
know?
seen it either. So it's new,
Yeah.
but the new doesn't always mean it's better. Um, but that scene though, I really like that though. The fact that they went and they had two teams going to basically, fix everything that's going on to stop the
Hmm.
bad guys. Because it makes sense. What,
Yeah.
you can have people inverted, the whole team, and then another team working together. That way it's kind of harder for the enemy to stop. But my biggest thing about it was I didn't care about the enemies. I didn't even know who they were shooting at. It was just like, okay,
Yeah. Right.
we're battling bad people, and it's like, who are these bad people?
Yeah. 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 That's true. That was definitely. I it kind of felt a little bit like a video game
Yeah,
during that part.
but the scene was, it was visually cool. Things going backwards while things are going in regular time,
Hmm.
explosions that are, going back inside each other. But it's just, it didn't do it for me. It still didn't make it better. When
Yeah.
that scene came up, I was like, great, it's finally going to be over soon. What did you think about that whole thing?
About that end sequence,
Yeah.
I honestly got lost a lot during it. Like, I kind of was forgetting who was in reverse and who was
They had the blue and
going
the
forward. They
red.
had the blue and the red, and then you'd see stuff. You'd see explosions either like inverting or going out normal or going invert, whatever. But then there's the time when like the Robert Pattinson character where he like switched, and when he
I
switched, I was
I
kind of
didn't get
like,
how he switched because doesn't he have to walk through one of those things that switch him?
yeah, yeah. I think that there was one in there, like a small one or something,
Yeah.
which was it all happened really quick. But after he switched, that threw me off even more because I'm like, okay, now there's a blue guy, but
Yeah.
he's not going
These
to.
guys, that yeah, it was hard to track. Like,
But
because
and then
sometimes it seemed like they were going the opposite direction, and it's like, no, you're supposed to be in reverse, but you're not going. Like, it was
yeah,
hard.
and then he sees him dead down there when he gets down there. But isn't this all happening at the same time?
But technically, he has to continue going with that other guy for all this to wrap around to where he gets dead. And I think that was the whole point.
I know, but the whole sequence, everything else happening in this moment
Yeah.
seems to be happening simultaneously
Mm.
besides what's happening down in that pit.
Oh yeah, I guess that is true.
You know what I mean? It seemed like he yeah, just down in that pit just seemed like a different time frame than what was happening outside.
Yeah, it was confusing about like the call, like when they called the main bad guy and everything,
Hmm.
and they were talking, and he was just like he's basically monologuing like an evil villain while
Yeah.
all this was, and it's just like, come on, he should have shot both of them. That one guy should have shot both of them quickly.
The movie is definitely a um bit full. Bit
Full.
full and
That's how-
a bit confusing at times. There's a lot there. Like you said, it's kind of one of those movies that you need to watch a few times.
yeah. But I think even the smartest person, the person that paid the most attention, would still have to watch this multiple times. And I think that's where I have a problem in the
I
end.
mean, from the sound of it, I enjoyed this movie more than you did.
Oh,
But
you definitely did.
like
The bungee
like
jump scene was cool though when they were like bouncing on the buildings and
yeah,
going up there.
I definitely don't feel like this is one of his stronger movies. Like
Yeah,
I remember after I watched Inception, Inception's one of those movies where you feel like you need to watch again, and it's
yeah,
long.
yeah.
And after I
But I
finished
did
that
watch
movie,
Inception twice.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. After Inception, I wanted to watch it again. Whereas
Now,
this movie, I would be fine watching it again, like a couple months from now, if somebody else
yeah,
wanted to. But I'm
yeah,
not.
that's
I don't really feel like going out of my way to watch it. At least anytime in the
yeah.
near future. You know.
I'm never watching it again. It's not gonna happen. If
Wow.
a friend comes over and they're like, "Hey, man, I really want to watch that movie," I'm like, "You're watching on your own then." Sorry.
Jesus.
Like, but
It wasn't that bad.
to me, it's not my type of movie, and I think it's not going to be a lot of people's, cup of tea when it comes to movies.
You don't think so?
No, I think it's going to be split. There's going to be people you either love it or hate it, and I'm on the hate side.
What's the Metacritic? The Metacritic is 69.
Yeah, that's close to
Yeah.
was that 50% range. But so you recommend it?
The
Like,
Telegraph gave it 100.
I don't even know who that is. Are they important?
Slash Film gave it 75. The Guardian gave it a 40.
Yeah. Well, I'm going down the middle. If I was one of those critics, it'd be 50% just because, there's going to be people that love this type of movie and there's other people that hate it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's going to be an in between.
The So what would you recommend overall? Like you said, like you wouldn't even if somebody's like, "Hey, do you think I should watch this movie?" You're like,
Yeah.
nah.
Okay. So
Stay
my
far,
overall,
far, far away.
yeah, my overall impressions to everyone out there, if they should watch this movie, I would say no, unless you're the type of person that likes those deep, thought-provoking movies where you want to watch more than once and nitpick these little things and piece together, everything that's going on. It could take 10 hours of your time watching it, four times, and if that's the type of person you are, then go for it. It has all those elements that you want to, pick out, all those scenes that don't make sense until you really focus
So
and look on.
basically what you're saying is if you're a Christopher Nolan fan, you recommend it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Those are the movies, get it, but that's it.
Yeah.
But if you personally ask me if I like it, no, I think it was a terrible movie. What about you? What do you think?
I would say that I bought this and I don't regret my purchase. So you could take that for what it's worth.
So you would suggest it to everyone watching right now?
I would well again, it's kind of like you said, if you enjoy these kind of movies, then I would definitely if you enjoy Christopher Nolan, I would recommend it. But if you're somebody who just loves watching Netflix Adam Sandler movies, then I'd be like, stay far away from this.
But I don't know. Like, I would recommend other Christopher Nolan movies. Like, if someone said, "Hey, I'm looking for a sci-fi movie," I'd be like, "Oh, watch Interstellar."
Well, yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't say watch Interstellar if you are a Nolan and you want to spend a lot of time. I'm like, no, because you can still get a lot of that movie out of one watch.
yeah, but Interstellar, I mean that movie was not as split as this movie. This movie definitely hasn't
Yeah.
got the recognition that movie got, but a lot of people had a lot of issues with that, with the whole theme of that movie being
Yeah.
it's all about love and stuff like that. People are like, oh, really?
100% true. Yeah, I mean,
um,
it was cheesy, but I just think it's the better movie.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
yeah. So you're saying you would recommend it though?
I would recommend if you're a Christopher Nolan fan and you wanted to buy this movie, I'd say go for it. If you're not sure about it, I would say it's worth a Redbox rent at the least. If theaters were out, and it's kind of the same thing. If you enjoy these movies, I'd say go for it. But I think it's definitely at least worth a watch. I would not push anybody away from this movie. I wouldn't say stay away from this movie. It's crap, because it's not. It's a good. I think it's a good movie.
I think if you value 2 hours and 30 minutes of your time, that you wouldn't waste it on this movie. Go do anything else. Go do laundry, dishes, watch reruns of your favorite show.
John David Washington, he's the actor's all great in it. There's some awesome fight scenes with the whole like reversing in time, and you see certain fight scenes in different perspectives or in different parts of the movie, which I thought was really cool. And when they do start piecing those pieces together, and it starts clicking with you, oh, this happened, and this happened. Some of that stuff's pretty cool. Some of it's confusing. Some of it might go over your head and stuff like that. But I just think, I don't know. I just think that there's enough here to definitely at least give it a watch.
All right, you got two opposing opinions right there. And
but
I think,
with all that said, I am a pretty big Christopher Nolan fan. So I might be a little bit more inclined to lean towards,
yeah. No director has my loyalty. So sorry, it's on a case by case basis.
I don't say if it's a loyalty thing. I just like his movies because they're creative and they're just different than most everything that's being put out. So I enjoy that aspect of them,
Yeah.
Like, honestly, one of his latest movies that I wasn't a big fan of was Dunkirk. So,
right, maybe we'll get to that one then. We could talk about that in a later episode. But
maybe we got some movies coming out that we need to watch.
Oh yeah, whole list of them. But with all that being said, you have everyone has our opinions. So I say don't waste your time. Sean says give it a go. Thumbs up. You have any closing remarks before we wrap it up on this movie?
I'll give a thumb diagonally up.
Kind of up. They don't even deserve, thumbs from me. Anyways, that's the end of our review. If you liked our content, be sure to like and subscribe. We're going to be coming out with more movie reviews and more information on directing, cinematography, and just, basically anything around movies. I guess we'll catch everyone next time.